The story begins with Rolf finishing his practice for today. He went back to his grandmother's house, and she served him some breakfast. He said he was going to go after he changed his clothes. His grandmother almost forgot that he was already 15 and his coming-of-age ceremony had finally come. She wished that his parents could see him now. Both of them reached platinum ranks as adventurers, and they had never heard back from them after their first quest. His grandfather also left them so early, and she was just grateful that he had always been looking after her. Rolf responded that he was going to become a platinum rank and earn tons of money and let her enjoy the time of her life. And if he became an adventurer, he thought he would be able to find his mother and father and they would come home together as a family of 3. His grandmother thanked him for everything and said he was their proud son and he would get good skills for sure. After that, he went to the place where they started the coming-of-age ceremony. He overheard other kids asking each other what kind of skill they wanted. An old man appeared and told those who were there for the ceremony to listen. He said that in the name of the goddess Dewailis, their body may be discovered with the talents that she bestowed. He told them to proceed to the altar in an orderly manner. Rolf couldn't see the people in the front. It looked like there were a lot of different skills. He wondered what kind of skill he had. His father had sword skills and his mother had a strong body. He just wanted a skill that was at least a bit useful and became a platinum rank just like his parents. When it was finally his turn, he went to the altar and touched the crystal in the middle. The crystal said he had a skill called Revive. The Pope had never heard of it before and realized that it was an unknown skill. Rolf was shocked. He told Rolf that his skill had never been recorded in this divine palace before. It was a new discovery. Everyone was so excited about this news and called him the Revival Rolf. Rolf immediately went back to his grandmother's house to tell her the news. He said that he had gotten an amazing skill, but she already knew that because news about him had been spreading around the streets. A man was also there, and she said he had been waiting for him to return this whole time. He was the leader of an adventure organization, the Golden Lions, and his name was Figaro. Rolf heard of them before. Figaro wanted to get straight to the point and asked if he would like to join the Golden Lions. He said that his skill revival would reach its full potential if he joined the Golden Lions. Rolf didn't even know what it did, but he still couldn't activate it. Figaro said it would be fine, and he had just turned into an adult. His skills or whatever else would be activated when the time comes. He promised to treat him well and said his grandmother would be happy if he joined them. He looked at his grandmother and she said he should do it if he wanted, and that was what his parents would wish for as well. Knowing that she was fine with it, Rolf decided to join the Golden Lions. A few months passed and things weren't going as he expected. They were using him to carry stuff and also scolding him for being useless. His party member Gatto was pretty annoyed by Rolf and was bullying him. Arya informed Gatto that the boss was calling for that useless brat over there. Rolf went to see Figaro, and Figaro told Rolf that he was firing him from the Golden Lions. He had been expecting some results from his revival skill for a few months now, but it hadn't even activated once. Rolf had tried a lot of stuff, but his revival skill didn't trigger even once, so he tried doing some chores hoping he could help everyone else at least a little. Figaro told him that they had Gad with Pinnacle of Swords and Arya with Magic's Vessel. This wasn't a place for useless people. Additionally, with the other members pressuring him, he couldn't cover for him any longer. Rolf tried to convince him, but he didn't want to listen. He said that due to his not being able to activate his skill, he gave them the amount of compensation for not being able to achieve the end of the conditions. They wanted him to pay 5 million guard. There was no way he could make that much money. Figaro said it would be alright because he could sell his house and he could close one of his eyes to the amount of money he could pay. Rolf told him that his grandmother was there too and his parents might come back too. If the house wasn't there, he might not be able to see them anymore. He said he would earn and pay them back. Figaro said he would not consider his house at first and suggested that he join another adventurer organization to earn that money, but he didn't think anyone would let him in anyway. He said he could always pick up trash, and even after 1 year, Rolf was still picking up trash. He found another crappy magic crystal, and this was all he got today. His earnings from picking up trash were next to none. He couldn't even pay for the interest. His skill didn't even activate once, and it was just the same as the trash in his hand. After being kicked out of the Golden Lions for over a year, his skill didn't activate, and people were starting to call it trash. He could not get a single adventure organization to recruit him. He could only do the lowest ranks and commissions, like cleaning the streets. He tried his best, but their house got sold in the end. They were chased away from their home, and half a year later, his one and only family, his grandmother, died from an illness. Let alone becoming an adventurer, he couldn't even keep his promise to his grandmother. He was still questioning why he got such a useless skill. Suddenly, he heard a scream coming from deep within the forest. A girl was fighting with goblins, and she seemed to be in a bad position. Suddenly, Rolf jumped right in the middle of them. He jumped in without thinking, and this was his first time facing goblins. And there were 3 of them. He thought it would be alright because he had seen how his father used a sword and also trained every morning, as he said. As the goblin attacked him, his sword immediately broke after 1 hit, and the broken piece was coming at the girl he was trying to save. But the girl stopped the sword and broke it into pieces with magic. Rolf was shocked, but the girl told him to watch out because a goblin was attacking him again. He managed to kill one of them and the other two got scared and ran away. Rolf then noticed that the girl was injured, but she didn't want him to touch her. He apologized and said he just saw her wound. He still didn't want him to do anything because she had a skill called Destruction, and it would destroy him if he touched her hand. Rolf was shocked. He had never heard of a skill like that before. And he realized that this is why his sword disappeared. Her hand destroyed anything it touched, whether she wanted to or not, and they would all just turn into ashes. Rolf found this amazing. She thanked him for saving her and said her name was Elsa. She then apologized for her rude behavior just now. She said that she didn't really know how this skill worked. She didn't want to hurt someone who saved her, but it seemed like her skills got suppressed when she put on her glove. Rolf said it was nothing because it was thanks to her skill that the broken sword didn't hurt her. He then asked why she was in a place like this and was attacked by goblins. He noticed the collar on her neck and was frozen. He then saw one of the goblins before coming for Elsa. He got ready to attack the goblin but then noticed that his sword was broken. The goblin jumped on Elsa and he panicked so much that he held her hand in panic to drag her. Elsa was shocked and told him to let her go because he would be destroyed. Rolf realized that now he was going to get destroyed. He had a short life and he was going to die without accomplishing anything. But if he got to become useful to someone in the end, he didn't consider this a bad thing. He told Elsa to run away now. Suddenly he heard a voice saying condition for skill activation had been completed. It asked him if he would like to activate the skill revival. When he said yes, a screen appeared in front of him. He saw the question asking if he would like to recreate a legendary iron sword. At this point it was go big or go home, so he said yes. His sword was back and he killed the goblin with it within seconds. His sword got rebuilt, and even though she touched his hand, he didn't get destroyed. That day his trash skill revival activated for the first time, and he met a girl with destructive skill. Elsa wondered if he could be her destined one. She said that she was raised as a cursed child in her village. It was the natural thing to do. She had the skill of destroying everything she touched after all. Thanks to this destruction skill, her mother died when she was born. Although her father already died from a disease, she destroyed one of his arms by accident before, so of course the village would know how dangerous she was. But an incredible priest appeared out of nowhere and gave this pair of gloves that could suppress her power to her father. The priest said it would come a day when she was going to meet a person where she didn't need those gloves and that person would release her from her fate. Rolf asked if that person was him. Rolf then asked why she was in the forest all by herself. She said that she was being transported as a slave, offered by the villagers. Due to the village's low harvest, in exchange for the cursed child that everyone hated, everyone offered her up to the Volcano house from Agdorafon. That was Figaro's place. So Rolf was shocked. Elsa said the goblins he killed just now were the ones that attacked the carriage she was in, and a huge orc appeared too. And she took her chance and got away, which is how he met him. She was sure that he was her fated person. Rolf thought she might be right because ever since he was born that was the first time his skill ever activated. They sat together and Rolf told her what happened in his life. He said that not only had his skill never activated but he had a huge debt to pay. So he came to this forest and heard her screams. She was hanging in there all by herself. Elsa wanted him to show her his revival skill one more time. They decided to try on that short old sword but it didn't work. Rolf started to panic because his skill wasn't working. Elsa told him not to give up and try one more time. Rolf had an idea and he told Elsa to destroy this short sword with his skill. Elsa was confused but still did it. After she destroyed it, Rolf stared at the sword for a while. She was going to comfort him, but he grabbed her hand, then the screen appeared, asking if he was going to revive the broken short sword. He said that it was just like before. If they held hands like this after Elsa destroyed something, the things she destroyed must be fixed while holding her hand or his skill wouldn't work. He had never heard of a skill like that before, so he was quite surprised. The numbers that he saw might be the possibility of success. He was going to choose the normal quality 90% test run, and just as he thought, it worked. He could see its stats as well, so that's why it never worked before. If his theory was correct, his skill wouldn't work without Elsa, and Elsa's skill was only used for destruction, but it could become something else with Rolf. Elsa was so excited because their skills were 2 in 1. While they were talking, a giant orc and a bunch of goblins appeared. The orc could talk and said he was going to kill them because they killed his friends. It was the orc that attacked the carriage. Rolf told Elsa to stay back, but she said she was going to fight too. He said he would protect her with everything he had. Rolf started to slash goblins and his sword was so sharp that he could kill 3 goblins in one swing. And when the orc came at him, he slashed him too. He had never had any practical battles before, let alone fighting monsters, and now he killed an orc. Elsa was glad that he was okay. She said that this orc had the goblins set up an ambush against the carriage. Rolf asked Elsa what she was planning to do from now on, and asked if she would like to stay at the place he was renting for now. She said that the collar had detection magic cast on it, and it would explode if he tried to remove it. She was a slave to the Volcano as long as this collar existed, so there wasn't a way for her to come with him. But Rolf said he had a legendary quality sword worth 3 million guard, and this might release her. Elsa thanked him and said he should take good care of that sword. It was a hand-down from his father, and it was also the first thing they made together. Rolf said they should use the weapons that those monsters dropped, and they might be able to revive them and make some money. Elsa didn't seem to have hope but still helped him. They revived the weapons one by one and no legendary came out, he couldn't revive one. Elsa asked if she could destroy the magic crystal that the goblins dropped. But a goblin's crystal could only sell for a small amount. When she destroyed it, the system asked if he would like to revive the crystal. When he picked yes, his skills expect increased. Elsa had never heard of a skill that could level up. He said he might be able to level up by defeating monsters. That was truly an amazing skill because leveling up even increased his chance of revival. They had revived everything, but it only sums up to about 10,000 guards. They were still far from it. Elsa said it was okay, but Rolf didn't want to give up. He said that she became a slave even though she did nothing, working, and that was plain wrong. He was not going to give in. Rolf then told her that herbs were growing around those parts and she could use them on that wound. Elsa said it wasn't a serious wound, but he said it would be bad if it got infected, so he wanted to press on it for a second. Elsa then wondered if they could revive this herb. If they could revive it, it could become a herb that could heal heavy wounds. She was right, a legendary quality herb might be worth a lot, so they decided to try it. They had revived tons of herbs, and it looked like they made some incredible herbs. And a single herb was worth 500,000 guards. And if they add it with the weapons, they had 6.5 million guards in total. They made this much just by themselves. Rolf wondered if it was enough to free her. Elsa wasn't sure. She asked if it was still okay because he made those weapons. He corrected her, saying they made it together. Elsa stood up and said she had a favor to ask him. Her clothes were in tatters, and she asked if he could revive them with his skill. When he did it, her clothes were now brand new. Suddenly, Elsa hugged him from behind and thanked him. This was the first time she felt like this since she was born. She didn't think she could be this happy by being needed by someone else. She always wanted to try touching someone, so she wanted him to let her stay like this for a bit longer. Rolf understood how much this mattered to her, so he let her hug him for a while. Meanwhile, a man was running towards them in the forest. When the man came, he asked for help and said the goblins attacked them. Elsa recognized him. He was the tax officer for the Volcano. Almany. He recognized her too. Elsa said Rolf was the one who defeated that ogre, so he could be at ease now. She showed him the ogre's horn and said she was also saved by Rolf. While it was hard to believe, seeing as they had defeated an ogre, he wanted to make a request. He wanted him to retrieve the tax money from the carriage. Apparently they hired guards from the young master's golden lions, but they ran away the moment monsters appeared. He must bring that money to Agrafan no matter what, and they would also be rewarded. Rolf accepted the request, but he had one condition. He asked him to release Elsa. Almany asked if he was going to buy her. Rolf responded that it was nothing about that and that he wanted to set her free. He said that Drago village was 3 million behind their due payment and asked if he had that amount. He said he didn't have enough money, but he had 6 pieces of those herbs and each one was worth 500k. First, Almany didn't take him seriously, but when he looked closely he was shocked because he was right. This would be a steal if it were just 500k each. He said he would release her after he had retrieved the money from the carriage. Elsa and Rolf were so excited. They went to the carriage and brought back the money to Almany. As he promised, he took off her collar. Elsa was thrilled and she hugged Rolf immediately. Almany apologized for doubting Rolf's abilities and wanted to escort them to the streets. At night, they arrived at the village and they thanked Almany. He said that they had received so much on their end, and they would earn quite a bit when they sold those herbs. He said he must give him the rewards for the request. He was going to park the carriage in the inn first, and then they were going to meet in the Adventurers Guild. It was Elsa's first time being in the Adventurers Guild, and there were so many people, they were giving dirty looks at Elsa. The receptionist welcomed Rolf and assumed it was for today's haul. He gave her magic crystals and an ogre's horn. The adventurers who saw him put an ogre's horn on the table started laughing so hard and asked if he was sure it wasn't a deer's horn in the middle of nowhere. Elsa was annoyed and told them that he defeated goblins and an ogre. They obviously didn't believe him. Rolf thanked Elsa, but he said he was fine. Elsa didn't understand because he had amazing skills. Meanwhile, the receptionist said she appraised the crystals and the ogre's horn and he earned 250k guard. Someone's voice was heard, saying this turned into an interesting turn of events. It was Figaro. He asked Rolf if he was going to return the debt he owed him. They also accused him of trying to swindle them with the materials they gave him. They told Figaro that they defeated the goblins that were attacking the carriage, and the tax officer escaped and came to report to him immediately, and they said that Rolf stole the materials that they were putting there. Elsa screamed at him, saying there was no way that was true. They were the ones who ran away when an ogre appeared. Figaro told her to stop bluffing because his members of the Golden Lions would never run away from an ogre. Rolf told Figaro that what she said was true. Right before a fight was about to occur, Almany came and apologized for the wait. Figaro asked what he was doing here. He said that Rolf helped him. The escorts ran away after encountering an ogre, and this child here defeated it and even got back the money from the carriage, so he was here to give him his rewards. He then saw the guard he hired standing there like a bunch of idiots. Almany told Figaro that as someone who was chosen by his father, they had said this many times that it was about time he graduated from this silly adventure business and became the next lord. Figaro was annoyed and left the building. He also fired the guard who ran away. Almany apologized to Rolf for the trouble that the young master's subordinates had caused and gave him his reward. He whispered to his ear that there was a bit of gratitude from his side. The gratitude from Almany led them to a luxury room with the softest bed. Rolf froze when Elsa jumped right on the bed saying how soft it was. In the next scene, Rolf opened his eyes and he was in the middle of Elsa's breasts. He panicked and stood up and recalled what happened last night. Elsa asked if he wasn't coming to bed. He didn't think he was ready but didn't want to look weird, so he had to lie down next to her. He was still trembling because there was no way he could sleep under those conditions. He called for Elsa but she was already asleep. It was only normal because she had been through a lot. He was getting sleepy as well, and then fell asleep. It had been a while since he had such a peaceful morning. Elsa woke up too and greeted him. After getting ready for the day, they left the room and Elsa wondered what his plans were for today. He said he was going to look for a commission at the guild first. Elsa wanted to be an adventurer like Rolf. She said that now that she knew how to use her skills, if she became an adventurer, she could be with Rolf all the time. Rolf was so happy that she wanted to be with him and said they should register her right away. The receptionist woman completed her registration and explained that adventurers were categorized into ranks, starting with the beginner's iron grade. Guilds gather requests from across the country and earn rewards upon their completion. As her performance was acknowledged, she would progress through the ranks and receive opportunities for higher-paying positions. The highest rank was Platinum. Elsa recalled that Rolf's parents held that status and asked what rank he was. He said he was still in the Iron rank. Elsa was also in Iron rank and she wanted to reach Platinum too. She started looking at the requests and asked what their tasks were for today. She saw guarding dignitaries delving into dungeons for exploration, but Rolf said those kinds of requests were only accessible to adventurers of higher ranks, so they were only permitted to accept those. He had been tasked with gathering medicinal herbs and hunting out goblins. First, they were going to head to the armor and gear up Elsa. He also intends to sell the weapons he crafted yesterday. Everything he brought was brand new, so that would be 100,000 gold. Rolf said he would get the payment and asked the blacksmith to wait for a moment. Elsa brought something and asked what he was thinking. She said that she would use this bow as her weapon of choice. She used to hunt in the village, so she was quite skilled with a bow. Rolf took the shield and the breastplate. It was a good thing he could get used ones for so cheap. After buying the weapons, the owner said they would be pleased to know they were all of good quality. He heard that the red-eyed Bernhard was on his way to Agdrakan, and if they came across something valuable, he might be interested in purchasing it. Rolf was surprised to hear his name. Elsa was puzzled. He said that he was a remarkable adventure merchant who traveled the world, collecting, purchasing, and selling all sorts of items. He had never experienced that either. The owner told Rolf that he would better ensure his armor was of good quality, otherwise he would risk his life. He thanked him for his concern and said this was good enough. After buying it, he used his skill to recycle it. He felt a bit sorry for the arms dealer though. He noticed that the breastplate was a bit too small for her. She said it was okay. With that, they begin by gathering some medicinal herbs. Elsa asked if soil and stuff could be recycled. She had accidentally damaged the fields and other things in the past and she was hoping she could restore them. He said they could give it a try. Elsa used her power to destroy land and apparently soil could be regenerated. It was just ordinary soil, so it wasn't worth much. Suddenly, Rolf noticed that he had a skill called Marial Synthesis. He told Elsa to try destroying anything she could. She destroyed some medicinal plants and poisonous plants, and the system asked if he would like to combine the two materials. After the herbs had been synthesized, they had a recovery medicine. After working for a while, he made a rough rope, a club, and a goblin club. A skeleton appeared from the hole and he immediately slashed its head off. Rolf was confused as to what the hell he was doing here. Elsa showed him the black hole and they noticed that the soil that he just regenerated collapsed, and they found a dungeon inside it. He couldn't believe there was a dungeon so close to town. The city might be invaded by demons from here. Dungeons often had traps, so he told Elsa to be careful. They were going to make sure it wasn't a dangerous dungeon and then leave. If it were a goblin den, they could fulfill the request to take down the goblins. It was as if someone had been working on it. It didn't appear to be a natural dungeon. He noticed that the wind was blowing from that direction. Elsa told him to move out of the way and destroyed the wall. Behind the wall there was a giant room. It might be the original entrance. Elsa asked if the thing in the middle of the room was a piece of jewelry. He said it hadn't even been cut. The moment he touched the ball on top of that, they realized that it was a trap. The room started to fill with skeletons. Rolf immediately took out his sword and started slashing them. After he finished, he said he fell for the trap. Elsa apologized and said she didn't mean to hurt him. He said he was fine, but something else might happen, so they should proceed with caution. After walking for a while, Elsa noticed a hole in the wall. They both thought about the ball from earlier. As they expected, the ball opened a big gate, and Rolf said this was a big setup. Inside the room, there were stone statues. It seemed like something was enshrined here. It was a statue of a girl, and there was a wolf next to her. When Elsa touched the wolf, something started shining. It was a blinding light that they couldn't see anything. When the light disappeared, the wolf statue Elsa touched was gone, and a puppy was lying on the floor. Elsa panicked because he was bleeding. Rolf gave her the recovery medicine he had just made and made her swallow the medicine. But the bleeding didn't stop. Rolf told Elsa to use her destructive skills on this puppy. Elsa didn't want to do that because she was afraid that it would disappear. Rolf promised to save her. He said that they had been able to reconstruct everything before and he was sure the proficiency had improved, so it was okay. Elsa trusted his words and they held hands before she touched the puppy. The regeneration skill had broken the seal of the demon wolf. He only had one choice, and that was a legendary quality, demon wolf. But he didn't have time to think, so he just did it. With that, he saved the dog's life. Elsa immediately hugged the puppy. She was so happy that nothing happened to him. It was a last-ditch effort, but Rolf was glad that his regeneration skills worked. But he was puzzled by the legendary quality demon wolf part. Elsa asked Rolf if she could bring this puppy with them. Rolf was fine with it, so they took him and left the dungeon. Rolf asked if she had chosen a name yet. She said she was going to call him Rizzy. It was a pretty name. While they were talking, Armani came and said he had been looking for him. Rolf asked what the matter was. He said that the person who bought the medicinal herbs from him wanted to know where he got his goods from. Rolf wasn't sure what to do in this situation. That herb was a legendary quality herb that was made by him and Elsa. If they found out that something this rare and valuable was made with their skills, they might be forced to work. Armani told them not to worry about anything because that person had a good character, with a clear and certain identity. After all, he was the red-eyed Bernhard. A woman appeared behind them and said he was a pretty little adventurer. She said that he could harvest such herbs and she was wondering what kind of strong adventurer he was. Armani said she was Miss Vanessa. Rolf knew her as the Great Blue Magician. She was also the one who was supposed to be Mr. Bernhard's partner. Suddenly Mr. Bernhard was there and he was being bothered by Rizzy. He asked them to move this puppy away from him for a minute. Vanessa said those were the little adventurers with the herbs. Bernhard told Rolf that he and his friends brought him that herb. Rolf said he found them in a dense place and he was surprised. Bernhard asked how dense it was. Rolf started to get nervous. Bernhard stated that it was possible that in order to grow with that quality it must be absorbing all the nutrients out of its surroundings, and if it was dense, then there was an overabundance of nutrients in that land. If there were such a place, it wouldn't hurt to check it out. He told Rolf that they would pay him whatever he would ask for if he would be willing to take them to that place. Rolf said he didn't mean to take them up on their offer, but he couldn't tell them where it was. Bernhard wasn't surprised because no one would be stupid enough to tell him where their best places were. He offered 5 million guards. Rolf was interested, but he knew it wasn't about the money. Elsa told Bernhard that Rolf was in a tough position and asked him to take it back, but he said he would give him 7 million. It takes a certain kind of man to sell that many herbs of that quality. While they were talking, Figaro came and started talking with Bernhard. He told Bernhard to leave those lowly adventurers alone and come to his mansion. But Bernhard said he was with him. Figaro said they were hosting a banquet to celebrate his visit, and they would love to hear his tales of heroism. He then told Armani that he was taking him too. Rizzy didn't seem to like Figaro. Figaro told Rolf to put a membrane on it, then asked Bernhard to come to the mansion. Bernhard said he had a business meeting with him, but he thought he was joking. He somehow convinced him to go to his mansion and they started walking away. And for the first time, Figaro was useful for Rolf. After that, Rolf wanted to talk about tonight's accommodation. He said that he couldn't stay at the inn with Lizzie. They need to figure out a place where they can sleep. They cannot sleep in an open area. Elsa suggested setting up camp outside the city. She thought that if they stayed in town, the two guys from earlier would try to find them. If they were away from town for a few days, they would give up and go somewhere else. Rolf agreed that they should stay out of the city until things cool down, doing what the guild asked them to do. Thus they reported the discovery of the dungeon, and as a continuation of unfulfilling takedown requests, he was asked to gather new medicinal herbs. They decided to go to the camp after that. They put Lizzie in a nice collar and prepared delicious meals thanks to Elsa. She said that she was good with a bow. Tomorrow they were going to go to the lake where they could find some medicinal herbs. That's why they decided to go to bed today. Elsa asked if she could ask for a favor. She said that when she was a kid, her father used to put her in his lap like this until she fell asleep. Rolf didn't want to reject her, so he let her sleep like this. The next day they woke up to Lizzie's sound. Panicked, Rolf grabbed his sword and told Elsa to stay back. When they looked outside the tent, they saw Golden Lion members. Apparently, because of them, those guys in Gatu were kicked out of Golden Lion. They were referring to the wagon thing from the other day. Gatto told him to apologize to them, and then he and his friends were going to tell Figaro that they all cheated on their results. Then with his help, they could be reinstated as Golden Lions, and he wouldn't have to suffer. Rolf told Gatto that he hadn't lied, so he would not apologize for anything. The guards started attacking him after he said that. That was his first time fighting with people, and Rolf was doing pretty well. He was dodging their attacks, finding their opening, and injuring them one by one. They were shocked by how strong he was. Gatto told them that he wasn't that strong. It was about his sharp weapon. Gato decided to join in and attacked Rolf, but he knew that he used mastery of the sword skill. Every single blow of Gato was heavy. The guards were cheering for Gato and wanted him to steal his sword too. Gato told Rolf that he was full of gaps, and he threw his sword away. Elsa used his bow to protect Rolf, but then Arya stopped her with her skill. She said that he was making her feel like she was in a lot of trouble. If they had just said they were lying, none of this would have happened. They were their subordinates, and their failure was a matter of trust for them. Arya said that she worked his way up to the top grade by taking care of a rich man's arrogant son, and then she was not going to let that go to waste. She started choking Elsa with the vines. Rolf begged Arya not to kill her. Suddenly the veins were destroyed. When they turned their back, they saw Vanessa and Bernhard. Arya was shocked that her magic was broken and asked how she got there. Vanessa responded that the magic composition was still too lenient and she would give her assignment. If she didn't solve it, it would stay the same for the rest of her life. Suddenly Arya had cat ears on her head. Bernhard said that some of them had a run-in with Rolf and the others. They left the town, and he followed them because he was curious. But he thought he could pretend this never happened. Gato had to accept his fate and asked them not to tell Figaro about this. Rolf thanked Bernhard for his help. He said he was looking for him to continue their business meeting. He said that he wondered if they would be willing to join his Merchant Adventurers Guild. He needed both of them in his team. Neither of them expected an offer like that. Bernhard stated that he wanted them to lend him their strength. It was a long story, so he invited them to his place to show them. Elsa asked what they should do. Yesterday, Hana talked about the legendary quality of medicinal herbs found in this forest. There were no more medicinal herbs left. He had done all the hunting, so he wanted to go that way. Elsa asked if he knew the reason why the adventure merchants were inviting him. He didn't know the reason, but he wanted to keep their skills a secret. They arrived at Mr. Bernhard's house, and it was a Red Flames cargo warehouse. This was a 2-in-1. It acted both as a cargo warehouse and their home. It could move too. They had 10 horses to pull it. They used mithril generously, so even when attacked by monsters, its endurance was high. They entered inside. Vanessa said she had spent all her money earned on this, and there was not much left over in the flare walk. She mentioned that the noble boy asked her to stay at his mansion. It had a fluffy bed and a big bathhouse, so she was going to go there. They went to Bernhard's room, and he asked if he wanted to continue the story. He said that he could talk here and it was safe. Rolf started with yesterday's story in which they talked about the herbs, but Bernhard stopped him, saying he didn't care about that. What he was interested in was their skills. He asked Figaro about it, and he seemed to have a very rare regeneration skill. Rolf responded that his skills were trash and they didn't even activate. It was like that because he had golden lion sickness. Bernhard assumed he had a hard life and asked how he was these days. Bernhard said he had a lot of medicinal herbs of legendary quality caught by defeating the ogre. Moreover, he knew there was a new dungeon discovered and asked if they knew about it. He also said their abilities seemed to change when they were together. He wanted to know more about their skills, and Elsa seemed to influence them. And if he was right, it was still not too much. Ever since he heard an unbelievable story about legendary medicinal herbs growing in clumps, he had come to think that his skills could regenerate and improve the quality of things, which would make it a rare skill. Rolf and Elsa didn't talk about their skills and they didn't show them to anyone. This person had already guessed most of the things so far just by a little information and their recent behavior. This was how adventurers in this world were, and an adventurer who could analyze anything, red-eyed Bernhard. Rolf wanted to discuss this with Elsa first, so they left them alone for a moment. He said that this person was amazing. He guessed Rolf's skill correctly, but Rolf still had some doubts. After talking, they returned to the room, and he asked if they had concluded. Rolf said he wanted to show him their skills, but asked him not to tell anyone else about it. To show their skill, he asked if there was anything of no use here. Vanessa said they had a cup with a missing handle. They brought that cup, and Elsa started off by taking off her gloves and destroying the cup. Rolf explained that Elsa's skill was destruction. It would completely destroy anything it touched, and those gloves were meant to control it. Vanessa felt bad for Elsa because she couldn't touch anyone or anything. Rolf said that the strange part was that it didn't work on him. They hold hands and Rolf shows them his skill by regenerating the cup. He said that this was his skill. Elsa's skill allowed him to regenerate only what she had destroyed, and he could tell the value of objects that have been reconstructed. And this one was 10000 gold. Bernhard took out his eye cover and confirmed that he was right. Rolf said he had always been trying to activate his skill, but he couldn't do it. But after meeting with Elsa, he was able to activate and learn more about his skill. And his skill level's up too. Bernhard never heard of that either. He said that it was a secret that he could increase the quality of the things he regenerates. That was how herbs of legendary quality were made. As Vanessa expected, both their skills were made for each other. And this was so romantic. But it was also very dangerous. Many people wanted those types of things, and if anyone here were to find out, it could become a tool of war. Rolf said he was right. If young adventurers like them were sell high-quality herbs, someone would find out eventually. Rolf said they talked about it with Hana before. If they become adventurer merchants, it would seem natural even if they sell expensive things. Moreover, if it was from Bernhard, it wasn't too much. He has established sales channels and a good reputation, so he should be able to get it. Rolf said his father and mother were worried that he was an adventurer. When he was young, they received a request and they just went missing. Surely somewhere even now they just continued their journey. That's why he also became an adventurer, thinking that if he traveled around the world he would meet them somewhere. And to do that, Rolf asked him to let them join his party. Bernhard was immediately okay with that. Elsa was on board too, and they had Lizzie. Vanessa said they should get started right away. They had a bed for two and she had to prepare it, and Bern was with her. Rolf was confused and asked if they were using the same bed. Vanessa asked if there was a problem because she assumed they were in that kind of relationship. They both seemed embarrassed. Elsa asked if Bernhard and Vanessa were going to get married. She said that she wasn't married. She was a marriage candidate. He also says he had no intention of settling down yet and was still learning magic. Bernhard said his girlfriend and he were workmates and nothing more. Vanessa started flirting with him to make him nervous. She then told Elsa to come in. Just yesterday, Rolf was exiled from the Golden Lion and was living a miserable life. He couldn't believe he was joining the world's most famous merchant adventurer now. He had never even dreamed of it, but most of all, he could go on adventures with Elsa. He couldn't help but look forward to it. The next day, when he woke up, he felt something warm on his face again and panicked, thinking it was Elsa's breasts again. But it was just Lizzie's butt. She was in the middle of them. Vanessa greeted Rolf and it seemed like she'd just gotten out of the shower. She said that Rolf was a serious man, and he had to take responsibility. Rolf was confused as to what she meant. She said that he was sleeping together with a defenseless child and did nothing. Bernhard came and told Vanessa not to teach him those things. She grabbed Bernhard and said he was wild last night. Elsa woke up too. Vanessa said they had already taken a shower and they should take a bath too. Bernhard seemed annoyed and claimed that the rabbit race hated bathing in water. And with this, Rolf's day as an adventure merchant began. In the next scene, Figaro cleaned his armor. Gart came and gave him the news about Rolf. Meanwhile, the receptionist wanted to confirm that they had joined Bernhard's adventurer merchant. Bernhard confirmed her. The other adventurers thought Bernhard had been tricked with rare skills that didn't activate. They were puzzled as to how Rolf could join the adventurer merchant. The receptionist asked Rolf to sign here for the enrollment process. Right before he did that, Figaro came and stopped him. He asked Bernhard if he was crazy to let Rolf's party join in. He said that he had high hopes for his skill, but his trash skills didn't activate. He was a useless person. Bernhard said he would let him carry the luggage then. He said that if it was about carrying the luggage, he was sure there was someone else who could do it too, and there was no need to tell such a lie. Bernhard said the people of the Golden Lions over there didn't know anything. However, he would be joining his adventurer merchant guild no matter what, and that decision wouldn't change. Figaro said he should have asked him to join his Golden Lions. He responded that he had already intended to decline that offer, but since he insisted, he once again refused him. Everyone was shocked that he was so strict about his decision. Figaro said he fooled him a little, and that's why the Frozen family and the adventurer merchant would cancel all the transactions in the future. He left there after saying he was going to regret this. Rolf asked if that was really okay. Bernhard said he had a good relationship with his father, who was the head of the family. Because of this connection, he had many transaction partners, so it poses no problem for him. With this, he had saved a little of his pride. They continued their procedure after that, and when everything was finished, Rolf was officially a member of the Adventurer Merchant Guild. They shook hands with each other and hoped that they would work well together. Bernhard then had something to ask the receptionist. He asked how many magic crystals this guild had. She said there were around 3,000 in the storage. Bernhard said he would buy them all. There was something that needed to be handled carefully, so he offered 300 gold for each of them. She asked him to wait a minute and went inside to check something. Rolf asked if that was okay. He said that the magic crystal would be destroyed anyway. If he absorbed it, it would become an experience point for leveling up his skill. No matter how much he bought, it was all right. This was an upfront investment. The guildmaster Fran came and apologized for keeping him waiting. He asked if he wanted to buy the magic stones. He brought all of them and said they were so low quality that they were practically unusable. Even so, if a wild animal eats that magic crystal, it will turn into a troublesome monster. Fran said he would have difficulty storing this much and wondered why he wanted to buy such a thing. Bernhard responded that the way to use low-quality magic stones was already discovered, and someone told him this. That someone was the one who requested to buy this magic stone. Fran seemed convinced enough and said that if it were him, he would feel relieved to sell it. Bernhard thanked him and told him to use his Adventure Guild account for the payment. Before he left, Fran had a request. It was about the new dungeon that Rolf had discovered. It was close to the town, and monsters were starting to appear. As a guild, they wanted to clear it quickly. But there were few strategic experts in this town. The platinum-grade adventurer Bernhard could help with the strategy for that wild dungeon, and that was his request. He said he would do it, but this would take some time. And the advance payment was 3 million gold, and the success fee was 4 million gold. Fran knew it would cost around that much. He also had to pay the success fee to Rolf because he would guide him in the dungeon to save time. The advance payment was 5 million gold. Besides, he didn't mind if the items found were acquired by Bernhard. After that they would add 3 million gold. Rolf said he could be the guide inside the dungeon, and it didn't take too much time. Bernhard said it would be okay and accepted the request. After that they stacked the stones, and Bernhard said Fiona and Elsa should be in the weapon shop, so they should go there too. He then gave him some money to buy his equipment from Elsa. Rolf thanked him and said that he could buy a second-hand weapon. Bernhard asked why that kind of weapon, and he just showed him his hands as a response. He left the purchase to him. He knew it was just buying items, but this was a part of being a proper merchant adventurer. When they arrived, they apologized for keeping them waiting. Rolf was shocked because they were wearing very revealing outfits. He asked if they were planning to fight with that kind of outfit. Vanessa said she made her look like her. After that teasing, Vanessa left and told them to spend their time shopping. The shop owner recognized them, and he heard they were joining the Bernhard Merchant Adventure Party. He noticed that he was still searching for a used weapon, but this time, he said he would find the best weapon for himself. Rolf said it was okay. Rolf noticed that the number of second-hand products had increased since the last time he saw it. He said that it was because many adventurers change it for new ones. Rolf wanted all of that. He said that Bernhard said he wanted used armor because it was cheap, and since it was a request from a nobleman, the owner couldn't question it. He said that all nobles wanted to give away low-ranking equipment cheaply. After they were done, Bernhard asked how many he got, and all of them were around 60 million gold. It was a good price for that thing. He said he might have a good talent for being a merchant. Vanessa said that if their equipment was just that, the extra money could be used to buy fancy clothes for Elsa. Elsa said it was okay and she didn't need such clothes. Vanessa approached Rolf and told him that a good man is a man who embraces a woman's selfishness. It was okay for Elsa to be selfish with Rolf once in a while. Even Bernhard had to agree with her on this. Rolf had a realization moment, and he promised Elsa that when he became the #1 adventurer, he was going to buy all the clothes she wanted. Elsa said it was okay and she could just wear normal clothes, but he said it wasn't okay, and she wanted Elsa to always look pretty. Vanessa promised to choose it for her when that time comes. Rolf was sure that she would choose something racy again. Meanwhile, Arya informed Figaro that Bernhard and the others were going to conquer a dungeon. In the next scene, they were heading to the dungeon at full speed. Elsa had never seen a stagecoach this amazing before. Vanessa said it was definitely worth taking a fast ride to see the look on their faces, and Bernhard agreed. It was called the Flare Walker. Despite its large size, it could handle rough roads with ease. That was because its wheels were much wider than normal. That was all thanks to the mithril steel they used to make it. It was lightweight and strong, but they ended up using it. It certainly costs a lot of money too. But Vanessa got to do all the interior design to her liking. It was important to have a nice living space for long journeys. Elsa suggested buying a stagecoach of their own once they saved up enough money. That sounded like a great idea. Rolf started to imagine what it would be like to have their own stagecoach. Just a small one would be enough for them, and he could go on adventures with Elsa. While he was dreaming, Elsa reminded him that this was the spot. He told Bernhard to stop the coach. They showed them the entrance to the dungeon they discovered. It had been a while since Bernhard last explored a new dungeon, so he was getting quite excited. While he would like to head in there right away, they didn't know what could be sleeping down there. First of all, they needed to level up Rolf's skill. They had Bernhard buy a lot of magic crystals for them to use their regeneration and destruction skills on. When Rolf reached level 10, he had a new skill called Specify Quantity. Vanessa asked what the matter was, and he said some kind of number appeared above the crystals. He could change the number too. Bernhard said it could regenerate multiple crystals at the same time now. He decided to test it out and picked up 30 magic crystals. They started to fly out and came right at Elsa. It was like they were getting destroyed of their own will. After they were destroyed, they immediately went inside Rolf. If he absorbed magic crystals in one go like this, he could level up much faster. But he wondered how many he could select at once. Apparently it was 172. He tried 172 magic crystals at once, but it backfired. He started screaming in pain. Bernhard told Vanessa to use her healing magic. After she healed him, they asked what happened. The instant he absorbed the crystals, his whole body started hurting. The system told him that his body had received damage because he had exceeded the limit for the number of magic crystals he could absorb today. It seemed like there was a fixed number of magic crystals he could absorb in a single day. Vanessa said magic crystals were like masses of pure magic, and absorbing such a large amount may be too much for his body to handle. Elsa was so worried. They decided to count up the remaining crystals. There were 2,700 crystals left. They started with a total of 3,000, so he could only absorb 300 per day. But to absorb them without taking damage, the limit should be 299. It would take him 9 days to absorb all of those. Once he had leveled up his skill as much as he could, they were going to explore the dungeon. Rolf asked if he was okay with waiting several days for him. He responded that as a leader, his members' safety came first, so they should prepare thoroughly before they take on the dungeon. The two of them will begin combat training starting tomorrow. The sun was starting to set, so they decided to have supper. The next day, Rolf started to level up his regeneration skill through combat training. Bernhard said he might want to start by checking the range of his specific quantity skill. They put a bunch of swords on the floor and the skill seemed to work up to a range of about 10 steps. For this afternoon he was going to have some special training with Vanessa. Vanessa had a giant golem behind her and she said they should start right away. The goal of this was to strengthen the cooperation between the two of them. He told them to breathe and sync. While watching the fight, Bernhard once again realized that Vanessa didn't mess around when it came to attack magically. It would be a good learning experience for them though. Rolf received sword fighting lessons from Bernhard, and Elsa's skill with a bow got even better. And several days after that, Rolf's regeneration skill had leveled up a lot. He noticed that he also activated a skill called equipment synthesis. He wondered if it was like material synthesis. Bernhard suggested trying it out on the used goods they brought. Elsa destroyed the sword, and he grabbed the broken sword with 2 hands. He noticed that he could only choose normal quality. When he chose yes, it got enhanced. He could now enhance equipment. Its value went up a little bit too. Bernhard was shocked. The performance of a piece of equipment was typically determined by the skill of the blacksmith who made it. He knew it was possible to enhance it like that, but the success rate was so low that he would lose both pieces if he failed. He had never seen a +1 sign on any equipment before. Even if they only enhanced their own equipment, it would be better to keep these off the market. He would be wary of those who appraised this. Rolf commented on Bernhard's eye. He said that he was granted the verification skill. Thanks to this, not only could he see the value of things, but he could also predict enemy attacks and movements. Rolf wondered if that was the reason why he was known as Red-Eyed Bernhard. Bernhard told him that skills such as Rolf's were becoming increasingly rare. Rolf agreed but added that his skill was completely useless on its own. Their meeting was fate. Vanessa said if Elsa decided to leave him, he wouldn't be able to use his skill anymore. Elsa panicked and told Vanessa that she couldn't believe she would even think she would ever leave him and reminded her that she would never do that. Vanessa said she already knew that she wouldn't since she had a crush on Rolf, but still it was possible that they could get separated during a mission and become disoriented in the meantime. She was right, there may be times when that happens. So to prepare for that eventually she brought 3 ogres now to train them. After a lot of training, Bernhard couldn't believe he saw a bunch of legendary quality items lined up like this. Rolf used regeneration and equipment synthesis to enhance the used goods they bought, but some of them ended up failing. After absorbing all the magic crystals over the past 9 days, his regeneration skill got to level 25. The stars indicated the rarity and performance of the item. The more stars there were, the higher the rarity and initial performance. Bernhard said that to make legendary quality equipment, it takes blacksmiths and armorers years with the grace of godly ability skill to do so, and now Bernhard finally had one. If the Y were to put those up for sale, the timing and number of them must be considered carefully. Vanessa explained that he meant that if they put a large amount for sale at once, the price would fall, but if they sold something like this to an arms dealer, he would fall over in shock. Now both of them had to decide what equipment they wanted to use. There might be undiscovered traps and monsters in the dungeon. They were heading into uncharted territory, so they needed to be well prepared. They both got ready, and Rolf noticed that Elsa's breastplate was still too small. They said they were both looking cool and were ready to head out, and now they were off to the dungeon. Meanwhile, men with knives were watching them behind the bushes. While climbing down, Rolf asked Elsa if she was okay. She said she was fine and reminded him to be careful too. They all entered the dungeon and started the investigation. Rolf brought them to the room where the red ball was. Rolf said if it weren't for Elsa's destruction skill, they wouldn't find this room. And there was the submerged section. Surely to get there, they had to come from that submerged place. Bernhard said they should continue the submerged section ahead. They tied a lifeline. If this place becomes a maze, they could just follow it and go back. He then asked Vanessa to use her water magic. With this, they could breathe underwater. They were shocked by Vanessa's skill. They swim inside and reach a door after swimming for a while. It didn't seem to be locked, but there might be a trap set up. Rolf's father used to tell him to check the doors in the dungeon carefully because they might have traps. Vanessa asked Rolf to fix the lifeline carefully. While he was doing that, he noticed that the rope was loose, but it was firmly fixed on the pedestal in the previous room. Vanessa asked him to look closely. Because it wasn't loose, it was cut. Shocked, Rolf wondered who would do that. Vanessa said they wouldn't know that, but the only thing for sure was that there was an adventurer in the dungeon who would cut someone's lifeline. Someone was trying to pull their legs. Bernhard wanted to move on. The route was simple, so they could go back. There didn't seem to be any traps set up, but there might be monsters lurking ahead, so he told everyone to be ready. When they opened the door, they saw a huge statue of a monster. Lizzie seemed uneasy about this situation. It kept barking at the statue. Bernhard said there might be a trap set up that made the statues move, and Lizzie might be reacting to that. Vanessa should be able to sense the magic power of the moving statues, but she didn't feel any sign of it. She wondered if Lizzie just hated this creature. Elsa tried to calm it down, but Lizzie jumped from her arms and started running away. Elsa followed Lizzie without thinking for a second, and they had to chase her too. When she found Lizzie, she said that it seemed like it wanted them to go ahead. It was going to be submerged in water from now on. They could move well with water magic, but they wouldn't see much because the water wasn't clean. Vanessa decided to use water magic. If they could just walk on the water, they wouldn't have any problem seeing. They started walking and ended up going outside. In front of them they saw Lake Van. Bernhard asked what Lake Van was. He said that it was a lake that was the source of water for Agadorafan. He couldn't believe he was going out to a place like this. Vanessa said this might be the entrance. She noticed a tombstone, and it was in the divine language. She wondered if it was a grave related to Dwires. Dwires was the goddess who created this world. She was the war god who defeated the great beast and also the god of creation. The skills of this world were also given by her. Vanessa asked Bernhard to read it. He wasn't that good at the divine language, but he could understand that it said, "My ally and friend, the one who created the world with me. I buried him here." The rest of the characters were eroded and unreadable. Rolf wondered if it was the tomb of Dwires. Bernhard was sure there was a victory message left at the site where they defeated the great beast, and it reads allies. Elsa said there was a stone elephant statue in the room where she met Lizzie, and that was Dwires, and maybe that beautiful girl was buried there. Rolf was thinking about it. The two of them had been here together forever without anyone visiting them. Lizzie came, and they questioned what the relationship between that girl and Lizzie was. Bernhard said it was a trap set only by people who didn't know it. It was a good place to hide from anyone. If it was so bad, they might have wanted to hide the person. He was glad they found the original entrance, and it looked like he had calmed down so they could go back to the investigation. After the investigation for today was done, they went back, and Bernhard said there were no real demons. The map of the entire Zentai dungeon had been completed. Rolf and the others, the passage that led through the hole they made may have been an emergency escape exit. And then there was the small room with the creepy butterfly statue. Once you complete the chosen investigation, you will complete the request. Vanessa said they should get some light today and start investigating again tomorrow. However, they couldn't head back because the Golden Lions were here. Bernhard asked what the purpose of the Golden Lion who specialized in monster extermination was. Figaro said they came to explore the dungeon. They were probably only doing some random research, and he went out and bought it. Bernhard told Figaro that the submerged section in the palace was narrow, and it was dangerous to dive with such a large number of people. The lifeline of life would be tangled. Figaro told him that there was no need for such a thing, and shocked even his own members. He said that they were not like him, and this was not a weak party. But his soldiers were still questioning how unreasonable he was. Some thought they would be okay because even if Figaro cut Rolf and his friend's lifeline, they were able to return. They obviously heard them say that to each other, and Rolf asked if they were telling the truth. Figaro said he wouldn't do that. Bernhard said cutting the lifeline of someone else was a foolish thing to do. Figaro didn't want to continue the conversation and wanted to start investigating the dungeon. Vanessa said she hasn't finished her homework yet. Seeing that blonde boy, she asked what he was, but Bernhard told her to leave it alone. There were no demons inside, so there would be no danger. They decided to have dinner. After dinner, they were having their tea when they heard Elsa's scream. They immediately went to the bathroom and asked if she was okay. She said that there was someone outside. Bernhard and Rolf went outside and saw an injured man. He was from the Golden Lion. He begged them to help him. He said that there was a monster inside the dungeon. The monster had multiple heads, and each head was a different type of monster. They tried to run away, but most of them were dead before they even took a step. Arya told Figaro that this was all babysitting him, and Galt thanked him for letting him escape so easily. Figaro was shocked. He said they would pay for it, but Galt told him to just behave himself. However, he was also killed by the monster. Arya protected herself with a divine frost wall, but it wasn't enough and she fell. She saw Figaro about to die at the hands of the monster. Right before he was going to get killed, Rolf appeared and saved his stupid head. Bernhard said they heard that he was in trouble and said they could help, but the reward would be high. Rolf told him to just hide somewhere so they could defeat this monster fast. Everyone was attacked by this poisonous fog. Vanessa was glad she applied underwater magic. Bernhard said he would be the decoy. Vanessa and Elsa were attacked from a distance while Rolf protected them both from the monsters. Bernhard was shocked by how fast this monster was. Even his own discerning skill was saying it was dangerous. Besides, it wasn't serious at all. It was enjoying taking its time to kill them. He wondered if the statue started moving. Bernhard was distracted, so he didn't notice an attack. But thanks to Elsa and Vanessa, he was unharmed. However, the monster started burning itself with its own flame. Bernhard asked Rolf to become his decoy. He came forward and faced the giant lion's head. He didn't even know what this monster was. But this was not the time to be frightened. He was a member of the adventure merchant, and he had his father's sword. As the monster swung its claws to kill him, he used his shield to defend himself. It then started burning him, and his shield was the only thing that protected him. But with this, Bernhard could chop off the snake's head. With this, it wouldn't be able to emit poisonous mist. Bernhard then noticed that the lion head was doing something, so he told Rolf to dodge it. It looked pretty dangerous, but Rolf was uneasy about dodging it because if he did, everyone would get hit. Right before it hit him, Elsa stepped up and used her bow to blind the lion, but she also got injured. Rolf asked if she was fine, and she said she was. Bernhard told him that it was the goat's eyes. Vanessa used her six-sword skill and inflicted significant damage on the monster. Rolf started to get nervous because if he got hit by that flame again, his shield wouldn't hold up. Elsa told Rolf to run away, but he said he wouldn't. He started running towards the monster instead. Everyone was shocked watching him slash the monster's throat. Rolf wasn't sure if that was enough, but when Elsa hugged him and said how amazing it was, he realized that he had done it. Even the golden lions were shocked. But there was no time to rest because it regenerated and now it was a lot stronger than before. Vanessa was annoyed by the monster and decided to lend a hand. Bernhard realized what she was about to do, so he told everyone to evacuate. Vanessa truly hated annoying men and annoying monsters. She used something called the Impact Ensemble. Apparently it was her cosmic grand magic. However, the monster had a shield and it repelled her attack. As the monster rushed for an attack, Rolf stopped it and asked Elsa if she was okay. She said she was, but Bernhard was the one who got hit. He said he was paying the price for assigning agility to his equipment. Vanessa told him that it was because he protected her. Bernhard told Rolf, as the leader of the merchant adventurers, and he told him to take everyone on any run. They were powerless against that thing and everyone would die at this rate. Rolf stayed silent for a moment and asked Vanessa if she could use healing magic. Bernhard was shocked, but Vanessa said it would take some time. Bernhard tried to object to them, but Vanessa told him to calm down because Rolf made up his mind. Bernhard noticed his face and realized that he had the look of a determined adventurer. As the monster came at them again, Rolf told Elsa to back him up and started slashing at the monster. He started with his fingers, but they regenerated again. Elsa was doing her best to attack the monster, but the barrier protected it. Another attack came from it and Rolf tried to resist it with his shield. Elsa told him to keep it up and take out her gloves. She was going to try shattering this barrier with her destruction skill. Rolf was shocked, but she was already putting her hands on the barrier. Just as she thought, the barrier broke and Elsa said she was going to keep going. She touched the monster and it disappeared for only a few seconds. Even after she destroyed it, it was regenerating again. Rolf noticed that the stone on its forehead was emitting this miasma. He grabbed his sword and recalled his father. He had made his decision and jumped on the monster. He stabbed the stone on the monster's head and a notification appeared, asking if he would like to upgrade his weapon with the Guardian Shard. He was confused but still chose yes. As his sword upgraded, Elsa hugged him. Rolf was confused, so Elsa said the monster was gone, he beat it. Bernhard and Vanessa congratulated them. The Golden Lions were also shocked that the trash picker Rolf beat such a monster. Figaro was mad as hell and said they were going back. He didn't even thank them. Elsa noticed that Lizzie was sniffing something, and it was the magic crystal from the monster. They were shocked when Lizzie tried to eat it. Rolf tried to stop Lizzie from swallowing, but she had already eaten it. They looked at her in worry because she might turn into a monster. However, flames started coming out of her mouth. Everyone was shocked. In the next scene, Vanessa showed Bernhard her new clothes. But Bernhard was more interested in Rolf's sword. He said that it was a divine language. The characters before it was meaningless. He couldn't decode this, but the one who slew the ones fallen into drunkenness was carrying this. The sword only became strong because of its fragment. He said it had something to do with Devilis. Besides, they had Lizzie spitting fire out of nowhere. Elsa asked if she wouldn't turn into a monster, and Rolf said she might, but other than spitting fire, it was just like a normal Lizzie. Vanessa and Bernhard also watched Lizzie, and it seemed like there was no difference. Bernhard said living creatures called magic wolves were unknown, and their meeting was also unusual. But they seemed to love her. The next day, Rolf entered the Adventure Guild, and everyone started staring at him. They figured that the rumors had already spread. Now they were talking about how cowardly Figaro was. Because of that, Gatto and Arya were sent to prison as slaves by the guild. The slave prison was defeating demons and mining resources in remote areas with no readily available supplies. Either way, they couldn't be satisfied with just their life. While they were talking, Fran came and he was glad that they returned. It seemed that Figaro was going to search for the dungeon, but their guild had not sent out any search request. Bernhard understood that Fran was definitely not involved, and he wanted to talk about the investigation report. They head to his room, and Bernhard states that even though the dungeon's name hadn't been confirmed yet, it was close to Devilis, or it could be the gravesite of someone with a similar rank. So it was an old ruin that dates back to the Genesis War period. He couldn't believe something that old remained undiscovered until now. Its entrance was on the side of the intricate cliffs of Lake Van. It was conceivable that the inside of the ruin had been submerged by the rising lake level. By chance, Rolf and the others found another entrance. Most importantly, that demonic beast had both a lion's and a goat's head, with wings and a snake's tail. Furthermore, it could create a barrier that blocks attacks. Bernhard stated that the fire from its mouth could burn anything and cause the surroundings to heat up. Even he went in prepared to die, but that thing was defeated by Rolf. Fran was actually excited because he was thinking of registering this new demonic beast in the encyclopedia. It had many abilities, some called it chimera, so the guild would register it as a chimera, and the one who defeated was Rolf, so his name would be in there too. In the encyclopedia, if any new demons were discovered, it would be the one who found and defeated the demon that would have their name in it. The encyclopedia could be used at any of the guilds. Bernhard said that since his name would be in every adventurer's guild, his parents might also see it. This excited Rolf so much. After they reported everything, Frank thanked them and told Bernhard that there was a new request. Before he could tell what it was, Armani came and said Romero Forson was calling. When they went to Figaro's house, his father bowed to them, apologizing for the trouble that his son Figaro had caused. They did not expect something like that to happen for sure. Figaro rushed inside the room and said he had a hard time fighting the chimera and they didn't do anything. He said that Gato and Arya were useful this time, and they were going to have a new member next time. But this was the last straw for his father, and he told him that he was disowned. He tried to ignore the things that he did, and he believed that he was going to open his eyes and see the truth someday. As the next leader of the Forson family, if he took over the family now, the family would be destroyed. His father then once again apologized to Rolf. He heard that Figaro caused him a lot of suffering, and it was his fault. Rolf told him that there was no need to apologize. Thanks to Figaro, he became who he is today. If he wasn't picked up by the Golden Lion, if he wasn't banished on that day, then his encounter with Elsa, Bernhard and the others wouldn't have happened, and this was all thanks to Figaro. After that, Figaro's father kicked him out of the house. He then gave their rewards for the rescue request. Bernhard noticed that it was too much for the request, and he said it included the nuisances from before. Besides, from now on the trade with the adventuring merchant would continue. And as for Rolf's debt, it was Figaro who inflated the debt, so it was invalid. He gave him a full refund and said he was going to withdraw the foreclosure on the house. He would also like to add a small nuisance fee for this as well. Rolf thanked him for his kindness. In the next scene, Rolf took Elsa to his parents' house. She was quite excited to see it. Rolf told Lizzie to tell him if someone was coming. Elsa noticed that the house was pretty damaged. He said that it was empty for a while. Rolf started to look for something, and found it. It was his grandmother's engagement ring. When his parents married, they handed this over. It was an important thing for them both. When they went on an adventure, they left it to their grandmother. They did that on their last adventure too. Ever since that day, his grandmother lent it to Rolf to give to someone important to him. So Rolf wanted Elsa to take this. Elsa wasn't sure if it was okay, but he said that she was his fated person. She gladly accepted his gift and thanked him. But she started to cry because she couldn't wear this hand. Rolf immediately made it into a necklace and had her wear it. Elsa didn't expect something like that, so she was very happy. As she hugged him, they had a romantic moment for a second, and their faces started to get closer and closer to each other. However, right before they kissed, Lizzie started barking. When they looked outside, they saw Bernhard and Vanessa waiting for them. They asked if they had found the thing they were searching for, and Rolf said yes, showing the rings. Vanessa congratulated them and said she wanted a pretty ring too. Bernhard told Rolf that there was a new request. It was a request for rare materials. They were going to the town of blacksmiths, Mzu. With that, Rolf said goodbye to the city where he was born and raised. Meanwhile, a beautiful woman was watching them from a screen. She was Saza Crane, world management main deity. She said that the powers of restoration and destruction met in the sixth world, and the great beast had awakened. First world manager Barlagar asked what the meaning of this was. The powers of restoration and destruction should be continued within the souls of men so they couldn't emerge. The third and the second world's manager goddesses asked if dwarves should be in charge of that. It was too dangerous a power for humans to possess. This could lead to the collapse of the sixth world as a whole. What's more, it was Lady Sazacrane herself who placed the seal on the great beast. The act of breaking the seal and taking over the Guardian's power was scary. Sazacrane said they should ask the manager of that world, but Barlagar didn't want to see Dwaris here. However, she was already here. Apparently Sazacrane called her beforehand. The goddesses wanted an explanation from Dwaris. She said that long ago the manager goddess of the sixth world at the time had her soul eaten by the great beast and the world was on the brink of collapse. She descended to the surface to retrieve her soul from the great beast. Leading the humans, they went to hunt it down, but they couldn't. She was so close to getting her soul back, but Sazacrane sealed the great beast along with her. Eclipse said she was on the verge of death at the time, so Lady Sazacrane had taken matters into her own hands. Dwaris yelled at them, saying she was called the god of war and she would never die from injuries like those. Her scream was about to throw them away. Dwaris told them that the seal was incomplete and the great beast would be resurrected, one way or another. That was the reason why she took initiative and brought the powers of restoration and destruction together and completely broke the incomplete seal that was still in place. The great beast was going to be resurrected, and when it was released she was going to descend to the surface once again to slay it. Barlagar asked if she didn't understand that she was the managing goddess of that world now. The managing goddess was a being without a physical body and could not wield divine power on the surface. Her position was different from last time. Dwaris said she had her back then and her name had been stolen. Sazacrane said no one could have predicted that the great beast would take her soul. Dwaris said that once the great beast that absorbed her soul was resurrected, management authority would return to her soul and she would be able to wield her power on the surface. So they were just going to repeat what they did back then. In the event they failed to slay the great beast, management in that world would disappear. Acarian told Sazacrane that if the management of the world disappears, then its very balance cannot be maintained, and things would turn dire. She would much prefer that rather than having the great beast destroy other managed worlds. Axarian wanted to consult with other manager goddesses too, but Dueris interrupted her and said she was not going to fail. Sazzacrane told Dueris to report to her if there was any change with that demon wolf. Meanwhile, Rolf and the others saw the relay point for rare metals transport to Minz, the city of Cambion. Elsa asked what that big tree was. He said it was a spirit tree. The lands where those magic particles were absorbed were purified and formed a unique ecosystem. What's more, the leaves and branches could be used as magical tools. Leaves were thousands of galds, while the branches were hundreds of thousands, and even the roots could fetch as much as 1,000,000 gald. Rolf realized that the outside world was indeed full of things he didn't know about. He was so glad to have joined Bernhard and his adventurer merchants. He wanted to see more of this world he had never seen before. When they arrived, Bernhard told Rolfel and Elsa to go buy some second-hand equipment in bulk and some food while they went to the guild. Vanessa said they had quite a lot of time to deliver on this transportation request, so they figured that they could take on another request at the same time. They were going to look for something handy like monster extermination, something that would serve as training for them. Vanessa was quite scared when it came to training. Bernhard reminded them that they were free once they were done buying and suggested looking around in the city. They were quite excited. After buying the second-hand equipment, the owner said he would have the cargo at the stopping place's reception desk. Elsa said it was nice to have second-hand items in good condition. This was such a busy place though. There must be a lot of distribution of goods. This felt like an in-town along the highway, and they smelled nice food. Elsa saw a grilled food cart near the spirit tree and asked if he would like to grab a bite. That sounded so good, so he said yes without thinking about it. But then he realized that he would be alone with Elsa and this would be like a date. While he was panicking, someone was running and they hit Rolf. Rolf noticed their ears, so he figured it was a beastkin. The guards were looking for her and they said she was hiding among the crowd. Rolf wondered what this was about. They didn't think about it for too long and went to eat something. The grilled food they were having was so tasty, the aroma was so sweet. While they were eating, they overheard people talking about monsters coming out of the spirit tree forest again. And it had been 15 times already. Rolf recalled that Vanessa said she was looking for a handy monster extermination request. He approached the man who was talking about the monsters and asked if he could ask him about them. The man asked who he was and they said they were adventurers. 5 years ago, the Protellera family, leaders of this town, turned the area around the spirit tree into their private property and barred entry to everyone. The leaves and branches of the spirit tree absorbed magic particles, so they serve as good food for monsters. If monsters kept eating food with magic particles, it would make them stronger. Now those monsters were leaving the forest and attacking farm villages. Up until now, adventurers like him would accept requests to gather elves and branches, but those requests had all disappeared by now. But the rumors say that it was actually the Protellera family attacking farm villages and blaming it on raids. Apparently, they kidnapped the residents and forced them into secret concentration camps. Another man came and told them to drop the topic. If the Protellera soldiers hear them, they would be taken to those concentration camps. Rolf noticed that it was the same coat of arms as the soldiers from earlier. That big tree was a pain for the people. They decided to stop talking about doom and gloom and have some drinks instead. Elsa said they seemed to have quite a lot of problems, and Rolf agreed. At night, Rolf finished carrying the boxes, and Bernhard and Vanessa were back just in time. While having some tea and snacks, Rolf asked how the guild was. He said he got dragged into a troublesome conversation. Vanessa brought the dinner and told them to eat before talking about work. Before they dig in, Bernhard told them to stop because he heard something like footsteps. They went outside to check and didn't see anyone, so Bernhard wondered if it was his imagination, but he was sure that he heard it. They heard Vanessa asking Bernhard and Rolf to come here. They asked what happened, and Elsa said something in the storehouse was bothering Lizzie. Rolf was sure he closed it properly and wondered if a mouse got in. Rolf was sniffing every box and she started barking at the open one. When they opened the box, they saw a little girl with animal ears. They put the girl inside and covered her with a blanket. Rolf knew he had seen her before. Elsa wondered how she got in because the warehouse was locked. Bernhard figured that it must have been through the vent. Vanessa asked Bernhard what they should do and he said they should keep her here until tomorrow and they would have no choice but to turn her into the guards as a lost child. Lizzie started licking the girl's face and woke her up. She woke up and seemed excited to see Lizzie. She then realized what was going on and immediately tried to defend herself. Rolf told her that they wouldn't do anything to her and asked where she was from, but she didn't answer him. Elsa noticed that she was injured and immediately grabbed her. Vanessa looked at her wrists and healed them immediately. She then told her that she should take a shower now that the injury was healed. The girl asked if she wasn't going to hurt her and she assured her that she wasn't going to. Rolf was looking for some small child-sized clothing in the storage that would fit her. He then noticed Bernhard, and he said he had a bad feeling about this. But Vanessa distracted him by dragging him to the bathroom. Elsa noticed that Lizzie liked this girl. Rolf then remembered that she was the girl he bumped into today. Elsa asked if she was being chased by the Lord's guards, but it seemed like she didn't want to talk. Bernhard told her that if the guards were after her, there must be a reason for it. Rolf wanted her to let them help her. However, the answer came from the girl's stomach because she was starving. Hay decided to warm the bean soup and gave it to her. She looked like she hadn't eaten anything for a while, and right after she finished eating she fell asleep on the table. They carried her to her bed and decided to talk more tomorrow. Inside the room, Elsa told Rolf that he could sleep with them, but he said the bed was not big enough for all three of them. He wanted Lizzie to accompany him, but she decided to sleep on the comfortable bed. Rolf wanted to turn off the lights but then noticed that the girl was crying in her sleep. This reminded Rolf of the time when his parents went missing. He had a hard time sleeping because of his anxiety. His grandmother used to hold his hand until he fell asleep, so he did the same thing with her, and it worked. Elsa asked Rolf to sleep with her, but he said it was cramped with 3 people. When Rolf opened his eyes, he saw the girl playing with Lizzie. She said that she was a really good dog. Rolf said her name was Lizzie and then introduced Elsa and himself. The kid then asked Lizzie if they were good people and she barked pretty happily. She decided to tell them her name and said it was Nagunia. Elsa told her to wash her face and then they would have breakfast. Nagunia was totally amazed by the table. Rolf told Bernhard her name. They then introduced Bernhard and Vanessa to her. Bernhard then wanted to hear her story. She said that she didn't want to go to the guard's place. But Rolf and the others were good people, so they might be able to help her and the others. She asked Rolf to give her some paper and a pen and draw a map. He noticed that it was the sacred divine language. Nagunia responded that she was taken under that tree. There was a cave under the tree and she and the others were forced to dig in the dirt every day. Bad people kept hurting them and they worked without food. At night they were put in a cramped space. Those who would collapse were taken into the fort and they never came back. With everyone's help, Nagunia managed to escape, but she was too scared to see anyone, so she ran away. Then she found this carriage. With her story they confirmed that the rumors were true. Vanessa said it was most likely that the roots of the sacred tree were being sold at high prices. As for the people who collapsed, they might have become food for the creatures in the sacred forest or transformed into such beings. Vanessa said the story from yesterday was about this. Rolf said there was a complicated issue going around the guild. Bernhard said that when he was looking for a quest at the guild, an envoy from the Protellera family came to him with a particular story. They had a large stockpile of sacred tree roots and requested that they purchase them. Nagunia asked them to help the others. They wanted to help, but it was dangerous because they were dealing with the nobility. If they weren't careful, they could all end up executed. When Bernhard said it was true, if they defy the nobility even as adventurers, it wouldn't be strange to be executed. Nagunia said she brought a treasure, and she would give it to them. It was a scrap of magic crystals. Rolf recalled when his father said he wanted to help those in trouble, and that was the reason why he became an adventurer. He decided to accept the request. Bernhard was shocked and asked if he was insane. He said that he wanted to help those who were in trouble, and when he met his parents again, he wanted to be someone that they were proud of. Elsa decided to help him too. Rolf told her that it was too dangerous and he would do this alone. Elsa reminded Rolf that they were partners, and he was also a member of the adventure merchants, so Bernhard and Vanessa had to help him too. With that, they all decided to help Nagunia and the others. Rolf and Elsa went to the Cambion City Guild and Douglas, the guild's guildmaster, welcomed them. First thing he wondered about Rolf was whether he really defeated that chimera. He was curious to see why he was here. Rolf stated that he was looking for a map of the forest around the sacred tree. Yesterday they had a rough idea from Nagunia's map, assuming that the location of the fortress was near the sacred tree. But a dense forest surrounded the sacred tree. Bernhard said he imagined there were many creatures affected by the sacred tree's magic. If they enter carelessly, escaping from the forest would be impossible. Nagunia's escape was a miracle. Vanessa stated that they needed a precise map. If it were the guild, they should have a map, but they wouldn't hand it over easily. Bernhard explained that this area was restricted by Lapo. The guild would be punished if they gave out the map to whoever. That's why the guild had such strict protocols for it. Rolf asked him what they should do. He said that this was a situation where they had to take a direct approach. They need to meet and negotiate directly with the guildmaster, and that's why they were here. Douglas stated that in the past there were quests related to defeating monsters, and there were quests for collecting branches from the sacred tree. They used to have maps of the area around the sacred tree, but as they were aware, currently that area was under Lapo's control, and entry was strictly prohibited. They can't just hand over a map of the place. Rolf responded that he was aware of that, but there was a particular quest that required the map. Douglas asked what kind of quest it was. Nagunia stepped up and stated that she asked Rolf and the others to rescue everyone in the fortress. Douglas didn't expect that. Rolf explained that she was kidnapped by Lapo's soldiers and forced to work, extracting the roots of the sacred tree. She barely escaped from there alive and came to this town. In order to free the remaining captives, they accepted her quest. They were going to rescue the imprisoned people. Douglas stated that even if they were adventurous merchants, it was no small feat to rescue everyone. Besides, Lapo was the ruler of that land. Rolf showed him a letter and said that Bernhard asked him to deliver this letter to him. Douglas was shocked when he saw that the letter was from Count Glawweed. Bernhard explained before that he was the lord of this entire region and they had been quite close for some time. He wanted Rolf to deliver it to Lord Glawweed through the guild. Vanessa was surprised that he was relying on that musclehead count's influence, but she knew that he was a higher-ranking noble. This letter summarizes Lapo's recent actions, and if it reaches Count Glawweed and he learns the truth, he won't stay silent. The nobles' council would discuss it, and Lapo would face an inquiry. They were going to gather evidence and submit it. If he were proven guilty, Lapo wouldn't get off easily. Douglas had no idea that they dragged Glawweed into this, and apologized to Rolf. He said he would make sure the letter reaches him promptly, and for him he was going to give Rolf the map to the sacred tree. He said that from the perspective of the adventurer merchants, they weren't particularly interested in protecting that lord. He then turned to Nagunia and bowed to her. He deeply apologized. They were aware of the stories surrounding abductions, but fearing retaliation, they couldn't do anything. Nagunia seemed calm, and she told him that Rolf and the others would surely help them, and there was nothing to worry about. In the next scene, Barnhard and Vanessa came to see Lapo. He seemed quite happy to see them, and had his maids prepare a feast for them. He said that their efforts in sending a messenger have paid off since he came here. Bernhard just wanted to talk about the business, but he didn't listen to him and called out for the maid again. He ate the meat with his hands and cleaned his hands on the maid's clothes. Lapo stated that there was one thing regarding monster subjugation. It was an impressive achievement, and he imagined it brought in quite a profit. Bernhard stated that it was their younger adventurer merchant Rolf who killed it. Lapo said they would understand it and asked the maids to bring in that item. The maids brought a box, and inside there were roots of the sacred tree. Bernhard asked how much he had in stock. He said that he had 200 on hand and he could prepare an additional 120 by tomorrow. Bernhard decided to buy all of them and was willing to pay 100,000 galdo per piece. When Lapo calculated how much it would cost in total, he was so excited, but he still asked if he was sure about paying 384 million for this. Bernhard stated that he had various connections, so rest assured. Lapo grabbed his hand and commented that his trust in him was well placed. Vanessa wanted to move on with the contract. Lapo was almost drunk with the idea of almost 400 million being in his hands, so he didn't even question anything. Vanessa asked Lapo how he managed to obtain this many sacred tree roots. She had heard that there were many aggressive monsters around the sacred tree. She had also heard some rumors in town that monsters attacked a nearby village and people were abducted. Lapo acted like it was his first time he had heard such a story. He said they should organize security measures right away. He thanked them for their time today and told the maids that the guests were leaving. When they headed back to the train, Rolf was shocked by the deal he had made with Lapo. Bernhard stated that if Lapo was found guilty, the money should be returned due to criminal implications. Moreover, they seized the roots of the sacred tree. It would be located for the relief of the affected individuals. Rolf was shocked that they had thought about it to that extent. Now, thanks to Rolf and the others, they had obtained the map to the sacred tree. What remained was how to save the abducted people in the fortress. They need to deal with the fortress's soldiers. During that time, they were going to rescue the abducted people. Rolf seemed to have dozed off, so Elsa asked him about destroying the sacred tree. Everyone was shocked. She said that with her destructive skills they could do that. If that tree disappears, people wouldn't be abducted anymore. Bernhard hadn't considered this. Indeed, it was perfect for dealing with opponents. However, Rolf said that revealing Elsa's powers could lead to unsavory rumors. Her power to destroy the sacred tree was not an ordinary ability. Vanessa suggested framing it as if she blew it up using her new magic. That idea did make sense. Elsa said that if Vanessa were as powerful as an archmage, everyone might believe it. Rolf was excited about this plan. They work out the specifics of their plan that night and then head to the route that Lapo's minions would be using for transportation. He said that it was best to avoid the main path ahead to avoid being spotted. The forest was quite dense. They were shocked that Nagunia managed to escape that place on her own. Rolf noticed that something was coming and informed Bernhard. It was a mimic wood. Rolf said he would handle it and jump out of the train. When he swung his sword, he noticed that it had become sharper. Elsa used her arrow to support him. The mimic woods exploded with her arrow, but they weren't defeated yet. It reached its roots to grab Elsa, but Rolf saved her. Nagunia was amazed by their performance, but Vanessa warned her to stay inside. She also noticed that their training was paying off, but it was still not enough. For now, they were going to focus on the sacred tree and those abducted people. When they arrived at the tree, they decided on their camp place, and Bernhard told Rolf that from this point Rolf and he would scout out ahead. While walking, Bernhard noticed something and told him to be quiet. Behind the bushes, they saw Lapo's soldiers. They chained people they abducted and beat them. It seemed the situation was worse than they thought. Seeing the scene, they went back and told Vanessa and the others about what they had seen. The number of soldiers stationed was roughly around 30. If they could cut that number in half, they may be able to do it. Vanessa was so excited to go all out with her magic since it had been a while. Bernhard begged her not to overdo it. After that, they reviewed their strategy. Rolf and Elsa were going to destroy the spirit tree. Once the spirit tree had crumbled down, it would definitely shock the soldiers and make them take off in that direction. After that happens, Vanessa and Bernhard proceed to storm the encampment, which would be undermanned, and rescue the captives. They were going to get them on the flare walk and escape towards the east of the forest. Coming out of the forest was Count Grauid's territory. The soldiers wouldn't chase them there, so they should also escape through here, and they would rendezvous. The operation was going to start late at night. With how dark nights could be around here, there wouldn't be any mining for the roots of the spirit tree, and everyone would stay inside. At the same time, this was when they would encounter more of the forest's powerful monsters. Especially for Rolf's group, on top of the monsters, they would also have to face Lapo's men. Bernhard asked once again if they could do it. Rolf stated that they didn't have a choice, but he promised to do it. That was what Bernhard expected from someone part of the Pathfinder merchants. Everyone decided to rest up before the operation. Bernhard was sharpening his knife while Vanessa, Elsa, and Nagunia took a nap. Rolf was also resting. By midnight, they woke up and got ready to rescue the prisoners. Elsa asked Rolf if he had slept well. He said yes, but he was actually so nervous that he didn't manage to sleep. To avoid being seen by Lapo's men without wasting time, they had decided to take a detour around the spirit tree. He asked Elsa if she had slept well. She said she was fine. Since she used to hunt at night, getting enough sleep was something she was very good at. Ever since Elsa's father passed away, Elsa had to live alone and be independent. Rolf often forgot about that. While they were taking the detour, bloodwolves appeared behind them. They managed to defeat them by combining their strengths, but it was still hard for them to defeat so many wolves. He didn't think they would become this strong from their training. Elsa didn't respond, so he checked on her and saw that she was injured. She said she was okay and she was going to apply recovery medicine. Before she could do that, a giant tree golem appeared. They didn't even have any time to take a breath after defeating that many wolves, and now they started fighting with the golem. The golem was throwing trees at them. Elsa was shocked by its power and she froze when it threw a tree at her. Thankfully, Rolf was there to save her. He told Elsa to destroy the ground here. Elsa touched the ground, and the golem started falling. After its body was fully underground, Rolf used the revive skill and stabbed its brain. Elsa hugged him from behind because he was amazing. But Rolf was embarrassed because she was a bit too close to him. They decided to head straight to the spirit tree without wasting time. After walking for a while, they finally saw it, the spirit tree. Rolf told Elsa to use destruction on the spirit tree. While she did that, he sent a signal to Bernhard's team. Lapo's men saw the sign and told each other to be on guard. They were coming at them, so they didn't really have enough time. Elsa seemed confused, so Rolf asked what it was. Even though she touched the tree, her skill didn't work on it. Shocked, Rolf froze there for a second. Meanwhile, the soldiers of Lapo were heading towards the spirit tree. Meanwhile, Bernhard's team saw the signal Rolf gave and told the others that it was time to attack. But Vanessa told them to wait, because the spirit tree was still intact. Back in the tree, Rolf asked what she meant. She was also clueless because even though she was touching it, it wouldn't activate. Rolf noticed something shining up there and figured it might be so big that the skill wasn't capable of destroying the whole thing. Since that was the case, Rolf decided to try it out and touch the tree. It looked like he was able to use his revive skill on himself. That would mean that her skill was already working. The soldiers were approaching them, so Rolf said he was going to activate revive, and once revive fails, the spirit tree would just disappear and turn to nothing. After a few seconds, the spirit tree sapling reconstructions were a success. But when they fought the wood golem, he knew he definitely reached today's 300th revive target limit, so that means he was going to suffer a bit. He started screaming because of the pain. Elsa was worried, so he explained that he had taken some penalty damage from going over his skill limit. Elsa noticed something on the floor and asked him to look at it. Rolf noticed that it was the spirit tree sapling. The soldiers arrived before they could escape, but thankfully the spirit tree started falling down. They tried to evacuate, but the tree was too big. Rolf and Elsa started running away. They managed to escape right in time and saw the spirit tree break down. Although Rolf used his skill often, this had never happened before. He wondered if it was related to how he revived the spirit tree. They decided to hurry to their rendezvous point for now. Seeing the spirit tree being destroyed, they got ready. They started rushing towards their camp with 2 giant golems. Bernhard told the others to free the captives. The golems opened the cells where the prisoners were being kept, and Nagunia told everyone that they had come to save them. They were so happy and immediately rushed to the train to save their lives. Bernhard and Vanessa were fighting off the soldiers while they escaped. Vanessa was so happy that it was her time to shine and use her blue meteor magic. She was truly amazed by her own magic. The soldiers immediately recognized her as she was the great Azure mage, Vanessa. They asked if the spirit tree was also her doing, and she said it was the result of her newly advanced destruction magic. They were so scared that they all ran away. Bernhard commented that they were just a ragtag band of soldiers. They had no coordination or loyalty at all. Rolf and the others were waiting for them, so they hurried to the rendezvous point. Rolf and Elsa were running at full speed to reach the spot, but the moment they made it out of the forest, someone attacked them. When they turned their back, they saw Lord Lapo. He seemed quite angry this time. Rolf told Elsa to make a run for it and they continued to escape, but a man with a big chain caught Elsa by her ankle. Lapo told Rolf to surrender and drop his weapon. Rolf stopped running, but he didn't drop his sword. Elsa told Rolf to run and she took out her glove. Rolf told Elsa not to do it, it was too late. She said she was going to keep him safe. Elsa's mother passed away when she was born. She didn't know if her destruction skill was the culprit or not. When her skill wasn't active, her life was happy. Each day passed peacefully. However, that day her father was caught by a monster. He told Elsa to get back because she would get caught too. Her father lost his arm after that attack. After that, she lived with this destructive skill. She swore to never use this power against other people ever again. However, if it were to protect someone dear to her, she was ready to use it. Rolf knew that Elsa regretted destroying her father's arm. If she destroyed someone's arm again, it might trigger her trauma, and Rolf was going to do everything he could to not let that happen. He believed in his sword and swung with his full power. Just as he thought, his sword was sharp enough to destroy the bridge they were standing on. Everyone was shocked and lost their balance because of the destruction. Elsa started falling, but Rolf grabbed her hand. Lapo was also falling, so his soldiers tried to save him. After they pulled him back, he told them to get Rolf and Elsa. The archers aimed at Elsa and Rolf, and right before the arrows hit them, Vanessa's 1,000 butterfly flames protected them. Lapo told her that he would not forgive them, but Vanessa didn't seem to care. He turned to his soldiers and told them to kill her, but they seemed uneasy about it. Someone came and told Lapo that this was enough. It was Count Glawweed. He said that this was his territory, and he could not do as he pleased. Lapo was under arrest for kidnapping, unlawful detention, and forced labor. Lapo tried to escape, but then Bernhard appeared and told him that criminals who surrendered themselves weren't disliked. Vanessa used her magic to capture Lapo so that he wouldn't escape. Rolf asked Lapo if he didn't feel anything for the people he kidnapped and killed. He said that there was no way he would care about those lowly commoners, and even laughed at his question. Count Glawweed was furious after this attitude, and he slapped him in the face. He told Rolf that if he hit him, his hand would get dirty, which is why an old man should do it. It was a real pity that many nobles were like him. That was because they were careless. Vanessa agreed that they were slacking off. Now those kinds of trash nobles were rampaging. Her tsundere attitude made him laugh. Bernhard said that because Rolf and the others didn't show up at the meeting location, they were searching with Glawweed for them. Rolf thanked Count Glawweed. He said that he wanted to talk to him too, so he suggested going to his residence and resting there. Bernhard turned to Elsa and Rolf and complimented their good work on the job. In the next scene, they were in Arcadia territory and it had been 3 days now. The survey was finally over. The people who were kidnapped were okay and had returned safely to Cambion City. Nagunia saw a hot spring and asked what it was. He said that it might be because up ahead there was a volcano from Mzu City. Even this place had a hot spring too. Elsa, with a blushed face, stated that she had a request. With that, Rolf found himself naked in the hot spring. He never imagined it would come to this. Elsa and Nagunia said they had never been to a hot spring before and wanted to try it, so he couldn't say no to them. However, this kind of situation was a bit weird. Elsa arrived with only a towel around her body. Rolf was relieved because they could take a mixed bath if they were in bathing suits. Nagunia was so happy. Elsa got in the water and started to relax, but Rolf couldn't really focus on relaxing since she had a pretty nice body. Elsa thanked Rolf for doing this. He said he was also happy to relax on his day off after such a long time. She said she wasn't talking about that. That time he saved her, so she didn't need to use her skill on a person. Rolf knew that she didn't want to use that power because of her father. She thanked him again, but also mentioned that she would be really sad if she lost him too. If it was to protect him, she was willing to use this power. Rolf was so touched by her words that he stood up and screamed that he was not going to die and leave her behind. He was going to become stronger and protect her. Since he was so touched by her words and stood up in a rush, he didn't realize that he dropped his towel and was standing there completely naked. In the next scene, they came back from the hot spring and it was noticeable that they had gone to a nice place. Bernhard asked Rolf to come here for a second. He learned a lot about the spirit tree, but the tree called the spirit tree wasn't just a single tree. It seemed like the tree absorbed the surrounding trees and became gigantic. The spirit tree was likely destroyed from the inside. After turning into a seed, the tree lost its support and began to collapse. So that's why the seed was strictly protected. After all, the spirit tree was Vanessa's new type of super destructive magic. And for the Lapo situation, he said that he was being transported to the royal capital right now. A hearing would decide his fate. According to Glawweed, he would lose his status and pay back the price with his body. Bernhard then asked Nagunia to have a word with her. He said that because she was quick to act this time, many people were saved thanks to her. Regardless of her situation, there was a church that was willing to accept her in this town. The others were shocked. Nagunia asked if that meant that she had to be separated from them. Bernhard explained that they all lived surrounded by danger, so she should stay in this town and become a respectable lady. Nagunia immediately refused to stay there. She said that she didn't want to be alone. Bernhard tried to comfort her by saying she would have many friends in the church. He said that they were adventurers and their life was hard in itself. To bring a child like her with them was far too dangerous. But Nagunia started crying her eyes out and she said that she wanted to go with them all. Elsa stood up and understood her. She hugged her very tightly and said they were going together. Elsa knew that Nagunia was okay with feeling scared or facing a dangerous situation if she was with them. Bernhard was going to oppose again, but Rolf said it was a request from him too. Even Vanessa was weak to these kinds of things. Before she met Belhard, she was lonely too. And Belhard was also lonely before he met her. Eventually, Belhard gave up and told Nagunia that if she came with them there would be lots of work to do, so there would be no time for playing. Nagunia promised to work hard. In the next scene, Rolf informed Vanessa that he had been leveling up his regeneration skill and it looked like a new skill was available. Vanessa explained that magic effect enhancement was a feat only an enchanter could do. Magic swords he had seen had been given the magical effect of fire. Rolf had it too, and since it could make anyone able to use magic easily, they were priced at an insane amount. Nagunia was excited about the idea of a magic that anyone could use, so she asked Rolf to make one. Rolf then asked Elsa to destroy this dagger and magic crystal. It looked like he needed to infuse this with elemental magic. It also needed someone who could infuse it with magic. Since he couldn't use magic, he was going to infuse one on this dagger. Vanessa asked what kind of element he wanted. He looked around for a moment and decided on light elements. Vanessa used her magic and it responded. He started regenerating it immediately and created an iron dagger. Vanessa said it would be activated by just saying the word light. He wanted to try it and it seemed like it was a success. Vanessa asked if they wanted to try Elsa's bow or a wind element magic bow. After Rolf tried it, Vanessa asked Elsa to try it out. She used wind magic with her arrow and it seemed pretty strong. Belhard came out of the train and asked what the hell was happening. Vanessa explained that they were doing a little magic enhancement. Belhard checked the dagger Rolf made and said he was sure its worth alone was the same as that of a noble's carriage, and he had never seen a light element magic dagger before. He was sure a collector wouldn't be so stingy with their money. He asked about the other things, and Vanessa explained that they got carried away and made a lot of things. Rolf said he would just sell the ones that were safe to sell. Nagunia asked Bernhard to look and used earth magic to clone herself. Bernhard was shocked. Vanessa explained that she gave the oak staff the earth element, which created a clay doll, and the cloak created invisibility. Rolf chose magic that would keep her out of danger. Bernhard said their firepower had increased, and now he needs to think about the timing to sell these. Tomorrow they were going to cross the mountain and head to the city of Mzu. In the next scene, they finally arrived at Mzu, the town of blacksmiths. But Vanessa noticed that something was strange. The sky was too clear. There was no smoke coming out of the blacksmith's chimney, and Bernhard couldn't see any fumes from the Gulag volcano. And as for the forest, its base was turning white and withered. The town was deserted. Bernhard decided to have a chat with the guildmaster and asked Rolf to unload the luggage while he did that. A man appeared and asked Rolf if they were the Pathfinder merchants with their red carriage. When Rolf confirmed him, he said he was glad the guild was finally getting serious. If they asked a famous group of adventurers such as them for help, they wouldn't have to go bankrupt. Rolf explained that they were just asked to transport luggage. They just arrived here in Mzu a while ago and didn't know what happened here. The man said they didn't know what to do. Apparently the lava from Gulag which they used to fuel their blacksmithing had stopped flowing. They tried to use charcoal instead, but the charcoal forest was now white and withering. The man came here to sell iron ore. If this keeps up, he can't do any smithing, and if he couldn't do anything, he would go bankrupt. All he does nowadays is just drink. They walked around in the town and heard people talk about how they had to close their shops. And since they were desperate to find an answer to this problem, they started blaming each other for sabotaging the forest. While the villagers were fighting, the guildmaster arrived and ordered them to stop. Feud, the guildmaster, told them that the guild was working to find the cause of this incident as soon as possible, and all they needed to do was be patient for a little longer. The people continued drinking after his words. Bernhard was also there, and he introduced the guildmaster Count Feud Swag to the team. Feud apologized for startling them. Rolf was confused by the Count title, so he explained that he was just a son-in-law of the Swag family, who had been given the title of nobility, and he was allowed to continue his old job as a guildmaster. Since everyone was already here, Bernhard asked Feud to say what he needed to say. They sat down together, and he explained that the town of Mzu was on the verge of an unprecedented crisis. The lava from Gulag Volcano had stopped. The 300-year-old lava canal had bottomed out, and the forest had turned white and withered. They had dispatched a group of adventurers to investigate, but the cause was still unknown, and so he needed the help of the Pathfinder merchants to find out what was going on. Bernhard had been friends with Feud for many years, so he couldn't refuse his request. They were going to accept the job, and he didn't mind being paid afterward. He asked the others if they were okay with it, and they all said yes. Feud was so grateful for them. They started by investigating the forest. Bernhard said he would introduce them to Todd. He was the charcoal maker leader. His settlements were in this charcoal forest, and they could visit him there. The forest was truly in terrible condition. While they were walking, Todd appeared and greeted them. He invited them to his house, and her wife prepared some food for them. Bernhard asked Todd to tell them his side of the story. He said that about a month ago, a part of the forest suddenly started to whiten. They asked the guild to investigate, and that happened at the same time the lava from the Gulag volcano stopped, and they weren't in a position to investigate. Since then, the withering of the forest had spread, and the forest that they had cared for and protected for generations was now destroyed. Bernhard asked if there was anything concerning before the withering started. Come to think of it, usually only the craftsmen enter the forest, but the craftsmen said that they saw two adventurers, a man and a woman dressed in green-colored cloaks wandering around in the forest. They were said to have been heading in the direction of Gulag Volcano the day before the withering began. They haven't been seen since the withering started, so they seem suspicious. He asked if Todd noticed anything else. Todd didn't know if it was related, but recently there had been an increase in the number of people complaining about headaches, fatigue, feeling tired, and some even had become bedridden. Vanessa listened to what he said very carefully and suddenly told Nagunia not to eat it. She asked the wife of the house if she used water from the forest to make this food. She said yes and explained that it comes from a forest spring, but she had made sure to boil it properly. Vanessa used her staff to check the soup and confirmed that boiling it wouldn't help. This soup contained magic essence, and a lot at that. Everyone was shocked. There was a condition called magic essence intoxication. When one absorbs too much magical essence, it could cause an overreaction, resulting in headaches, fatigue, and a feeling of exhaustion. Bernhard asked if she was saying that the spring was contaminated. They decided to head to the spring to confirm this. This spring was the water source for the whole village. Vanessa approached it to the spring to check it. The whole spring reacted and turned red. Bernhard didn't realize it was this contaminated. That was an amount that would quickly turn a small animal into a monster. Worried, Todd asked what would happen to humans. She said that it would be too dangerous. Their life could be at risk. They need to evacuate everyone immediately. When they were heading back to the village, Rolf noticed that Lizzie had been sniffing the ground too much. Vanessa stopped walking and then checked the ground too. The whole area was contaminated with magic essence. When it rains, the contaminated rainwater is stored in springs and the trees draw the contaminated water from the contaminated soil. If they didn't somehow manage to find the source and purify it, all the animals in this area would turn into monsters. But with how concentrated and vast the spread was, she didn't think it was possible. Rolf asked if they could use the spirit tree sapling. He heard that spirit trees grow by absorbing magical essences, and if that was the case, then they could use it. Bernhard was actually thinking about the same thing. Vanessa told them that spirit trees weren't something they could just grow. Nagunia said she was an amazing magician, so she was sure she would be able to grow it. There was no way Vanessa could say no to that, so she said she would figure out a way to explain it. In the next scene, they informed the guildmaster about the soil contamination. She said that the area was contaminated with a high concentration of magical essences, which is thought to be the cause of the withering. However, there were ways to deal with it. The guildmaster looked at them with hope. She said that by using her certain magic, they could do it. A magical structure that was discovered during the development of a new type of long-range destruction magic, which artificially creates a spirit tree and permanently purifies the magical energy accumulated in the land. They heard that the spirit tree was destroyed, so they were even more amazed by Vanessa's skills. Todd told Feud that this was a situation they had no choice but to face. As a guild, they once again requested the Pathfinder merchants to regenerate the forest. When they went back to the forest, Bernhard commented that Vanessa's explanation was very good. Nagunia really thought that Vanessa could make an artificial spirit tree for a moment. Vanessa told them to stop the useless chatter and get started. She told Rolf to put the spirit tree root. The moment he planted it on the ground, it started growing, and the grass was starting to grow around it. Vanessa felt like this was straight out of a fairy tale. The legend of the Tree of Life, which was planted by Dwylis Sama, in the tainted land corrupted by the darkness unleashed by the great beast, and the earth was purified overnight. After a few minutes, the tree could be seen by everyone in the village. People seemed a lot happier. Elsa wondered if Bernhard was okay. Rolf was sure he was fine. They just went to report back. When they met with them, Bernhard said he was finally done consulting Feud about the progress and what to do about the monsters. And Todd cried tears of joy. And thanks to this, Vanessa had become an archmage with the power to destroy and regenerate spirit trees. Now they were going to deal with the Gulag Volcano. Actually, the blacksmith who made the flare walk was in this town. And Bernhard wanted to ask him who was the leader of the town's blacksmiths about the incident at Gulag Volcano. And while at that, he would also like him to repair the flare walk. He asked Rolf to run this order for him. Vanessa approached Bernhard and asked if he was sure it was just repairs. Bernhard just coughed. He said he had a suggestion. He asked if they would like to have their own carriage now. They were engaged, so he thought it would be nice to have a carriage just for the two of them. He told Rolf to consult with the blacksmith Raymond for more details. While they were going to Raymond's shop, Elsa said she couldn't wait to have their own carriage. The thought of traveling in their own carriage sounded pretty nice, so Rolf was excited too. Elsa stopped him and said it was his place. When they stopped in front of it, a man asked what brought him to Raymond's workshop. He said he would like to order a carriage from him and was about to say Bernhard's requests, but the man started laughing. He asked how much he thought his carriages cost. His knife alone could fetch a high price. He told Rolf to go home if he was just messing around. Rolf didn't like how he was talking with them, so he stated that they were sent by Bernhard. Shocked, the man asked if they were the new members of the Pathfinder merchants. He apologized for his rudeness and invited them in. He then called out for Raymond, his boss. When he came, Rolf and Elsa introduced themselves. He said he knew them and assumed they were sent by Bernhard. Rolf noticed that Raymond stared at his sword pretty intently. He said they were going to talk inside. Raymond then asked Rolf if he wanted his own carriage, and he said yes. He then asked if he knew how much Bernhard's flare walk costs. His worker said he could buy a castle with that. Rolf was sick of this money talk, so he repeated that he was a part of his Pathfinder merchants, and he earned enough to order a small carriage. Raymond stared at him for a moment and started measuring them all of a sudden. After measuring them, he drew something so quickly and said he would make them a carriage. Rolf was a lucky one because Raymond turned away customers he didn't like. Speaking of which, Rolf asked how much he would have to pay for the carriage. To his surprise, it was on the house. Rolf said that Bernhard said to him that there was nothing scarier than anything that was free, so he must have some sort of conditions for them. This made him laugh pretty hard, and he said he would make it for him if he could, but he can't at this moment. Since the lava from the Gulag volcano had stopped flowing, he couldn't light the furnace up. He brought them to the canal that was originally built to channel the hot spring water from the lake of the Gulag volcano. Rolf asked if there was a therapeutic bathing spot before. He said there was, but about 300 years ago the volcanic activity caused the underground lake to evaporate, and instead lava began to erupt. After the forest withered, the lava stopped. Investigating the eruption spots was dangerous and off-limits. There were remains of another hot spring canal that was planned in the past, but it seemed to have collapsed due to an eruption. They were looking into other possible routes, but there haven't been any promising results. He hoped they could help them find a way to break through this situation. Rolf stated that this was the reason why they were here. Roman then mentioned that two people wearing green cloaks came by. Rolf and Elsa were interested. He asked if he could tell him more about that. He said that before the forest started to wither, they came here claiming to be investigating the ruins of Dwylus Sama, and as proof they possessed a holy seal from the sanctuary blessed by Dwylus. He asked if they were sent by the sanctuary. Roman said they wanted to see the blueprints of the lava canal here in Mzu and documents from when the canal was built. After researching that, they left soon after. He didn't know what they did, but a while after that the forest started to wither and the lava from the Gulag volcano stopped. Rolf asked if he could recall anything else about them, such as facial features. Neither of them gave their names, and they had their cloaks pulled down over their eyes, but he said they might be adventurers. He saw a platinum rank insignia, and the man had a large old scar on his right cheek, and the woman had Dwylus Sama's holy symbol tattooed on her left wrist. Rolf dropped his pen after Roman's words. Elsa asked what was wrong. With a frozen face, Rolf stated that those two might be his parents. In the next scene, Rolf informed Vanessa and Bernhard about his opinion. He told what he had heard from the blacksmith Raymond, and the two people in green distinctive cloaks were probably his parents. They also had the holy seal of the sanctuary, which means they were here on a special investigation request. Bernhard read a document he borrowed from Raymond, and it said that 300 years ago, a temperature-controlled waterway was constructed to regulate the temperature in the canal into which the warm water flows, and its source was a lake near the spirit tree that they planned. An underpass was built to check the waterway, and during the construction what appears to be ancient ruins were discovered. Perhaps the two of them, presumably Rolf's parents, went to investigate these ruins. They would just have to go there. Before that, they need to do something else. Vanessa had a new windscarf that she had always wanted, and Bernhard had a new fire-enchanted garter belt. Rolf also made magic-enhanced weaponry for Vanessa and Bernhard. Bernhard was so pleased that his equipment was now perfect. Everyone had new equipment that boosted their powers. With that, they were ready to head to the ruins. When they got closer to the ruins, Lizzie started sniffing and barking again. Elsa assumed she was saying this area was suspicious and used her power to create a hole on the ground she was barking at. They used light magic to see the path, and it was similar to the ruins that were in Agdrafen. They didn't know what might show up, so Bernhard told them to keep their guard up. Vanessa said that the further they go, the thicker the magic essence becomes. The essences must have seeped into the spring and contaminated it. Vanessa couldn't keep going like this, so she used her magic and created a bubble around their heads to help breathe. Now they could move on without worry. They arrived at a huge gate. It was written in divine language and it reads, "Show me your proof." Rolf's sword started to react to something, so he assumed this might be the proof the gate was asking for. It was a sword with a strange connection. The sword that defeated the chimera, the sword that was born after meeting Elsa, and most of all it was the sword that his father gave him. He was right. The gate opened when he showed his sword to it. Inside there was a sheath. What's written there was also in divine language. It said that a flame was not something to cut but rather to wear. Rolf couldn't decipher the rest. Again his sword started reacting. Bernhard said that this might be a key to something else. He decided to try taking it. He realized that it was a perfect fit for his sword. But when he moved the sheath, the two stone statues started moving. Vanessa told Nagunia to hide it. As the statues attacked them, Vanessa summoned a golem to fight back. Elsa made the statues freeze, and Rolf slashed them. They thought it was over, but then skeleton knights appeared. There were too many of them. Everyone gave their all to defeat them, but the more they killed, the more they came. Bernhard noticed that they were wearing Dwylus's holy seal, and their armor was quite old. He wondered if they were the tribe of people who fought against the great beast with Dwylus during the Genesis War. This vast ruin might be their tomb, and wherever they go they come across things that were related to Dwylus. Regeneration and destruction weren't skills that humans could control, so Bernhard started thinking hard to find a connection. Rolf realized that he was where the stone statue attacked and there was a hole in the ground. He told Elsa to destroy the floor. The moment she destroyed it, Rolf used his regeneration skill and closed the hole so the skeletons couldn't follow them. Vanessa realized that they had been falling for way too long. Rolf could see the ground below. Vanessa sued Whirlwind Shield and they landed without any harm. They wondered where they were. She could feel that the magic essence was even thicker than before, and the heat was too much. After walking for a while they saw the lava. This was the lava pool of the Gulag volcano. If they investigated there they could find out why the lava stopped. Lizzie once again sensed something and started barking, and inside the lava a giant bird emerged.